Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December 5th, 2018 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, publisher, and sports editor of the Lake County Sentinel, Tim Shirer, and I'm glad you can join us tonight. And we have a half hour that will hopefully be entertaining and maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. I'm not here to really teach anybody anything. I guess I'm just here to give my opinion and give some information. I think all of you are just as smart as I am. Sometimes I just have access to some information. That's pretty much what the difference is. So here we go. I think we should start with. I think we're going to start with the Browns. The Browns signed a couple guys today. To the practice squad. They signed an offensive lineman, Mason Gentry. Gentry is a rookie out of Southern Methodist. He was originally signed as an undrafted free agent by the Houston Texans in May. He spent the offseason in training camp with the team before being waived during the final roster cuts. Gentry appeared in 45 games, starting 30 at Southern Methodist, and he's from Plano, Texas. And they also signed wide receiver Daniel Williams to the practice squad. He's a first-year player. He was originally drafted by the Jets as signed by the Jets as an undrafted free agent last year, 2017. Spent part of that season on the practice squad. He was signed by the Redskins in August, but was waived in training camp. He is from East St. Louis, Illinois, and he attended Jackson State. So what we saw also was defensive lineman Daniel Ukule has been placed on the team's reserve, suspended by the commissioner list, and we really have no details why that occurred. So that's Browns moves today. The Browns coming up this Sunday are going to play the Carolina Panthers of the NFC South. The Panthers are 6-6. They're not having a great season this year. They're going to be fighting for their playoff lives on Sunday. They've lost 4 straight. They lost to Tampa Bay on Sunday, 24-17, and they have beaten the Browns 2 out of the last 3 times they played them. At the they beat the Browns 17-13 the last time they faced each other in Carolina on 2014. The last time the Browns played the Panthers at home, they beat the Panthers 24-23 on November 28, 2010. And the game before that, on October 8, 2006, in Carolina, the Panthers won 20-12. The Panthers, as I said, are 6-6. They've lost 4 in a row. Cam Newton is always dangerous, though, and their defense is really good. So it could be another tough week for the Browns offense. But I feel like they'll play a little better this week against the Panther offense or defense. So it'll be an interesting game to watch. I'm not going to completely count the Browns out of this game, but I think it's going to be a tough game. But we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll be able to win the game. You don't know. They play the games for a reason. On paper, the Panthers are a better team and should win, but Panthers probably should be better than 6-6 also. So Browns go into the game 4-7-1. Still hope of finishing over 500 for the season. So we're going to move on now. We're going to move on to the Monsters. The Monsters play tonight at 7:05 in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And the Monsters are currently in 3rd place in the AHL North Division, and hopefully they can get a win tonight against Lehigh Valley. The Mentor Icebreakers, who are now 4-8 and won 4 out of their last 6 games, they have their next game Friday. They'll be in Waterton against the Waterton Wolves. They are 1-4 this season against the Waterton Wolves. They won the last game. So they dropped the first 4 contests and they won their last game against them. The Wolves are 7-4 and I believe in second place in the Franklin Hockey League. So hopefully, both the hockey teams can get some wins tonight and then over the weekend. It would be nice. I have not got out to see the Icebreakers yet, and it really bothers me. They seem to really be playing some better hockey lately. I do notice that the teams in the Franklin Hockey League give up a lot of goals. They're very high-scoring games. Sometimes, though, that's exciting for the fans. I think you got a lot of scoring in baseball, the fans like it. You got a lot of scoring in basketball, the fans like it. You got a lot of scoring in football, the fans like it. So, hey, you got an independent hockey league. Maybe that's the key there. Maybe you have a lot of scoring and you're going to get some fans that show up. Fans like scoring. We know that. Defense wins championships, but fans like scoring. So, hopefully the Icebreakers, they're 4-8 now, 4-2 in their last 6 games. Let's hope they can continue that positive trend. Then, what's going to be starting in about 3 minutes in downtown Cleveland at the Q, the Cavs are going to take on the Golden State Warriors. I mean, we know who the Warriors are. Okay, they still have all of their players in place. They didn't lose anyone. They're basically the same team that's won 3 out of the last 4 NBA championships. The only interruption was when the Cavs beat them. But one thing also that has stayed constant with the Golden State Warriors is their classlessness. Okay, they are truly a classless team, which is amazing because Steve Kerr was one of my favorite players when he played for the Cavs. He's a really good guy, but boy, his players, they have a lot to be desired. They have really no class. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant, what's happened to him since he went to Golden State. But Draymond Murray and Klay Thompson, why don't they just shut their mouths? Well, they should just shut their mouths. You still have your full team, basically. The Cavs lost the best player in the world. Okay? They're trying to compete and rebuild something here. We know you're better. Keep your mouth shut. It just shows how classless they are. Those two, they are two of the most classless players in NBA history. I mean, they really are. They really are. So I can't wait until that thing blows up in Golden State. And those guys leave, and then Golden State is nothing. I can't wait till their fans have to suffer again. Because they will. It's coming. Within the next 2 or 3 years, Golden State's going to be winning 17, 18 games a year. And I hope Stephen Curry does stay. And I hope he suffers every second. I can't stand that team. I can't stand anything about that team. Except Steve Kerr. I like Steve Kerr. Everybody else on that team, what a bunch of bums. When it comes to being human beings. They are a bunch of bums. The Golden State Warriors. I can't stand them, those guys. And you know what? I'm going to predict this right now. And I could look like a fool in 2.5 hours, but I'm going to predict it right now. I'm going to predict the Cavs are going to win this game tonight. Golden State's going to come in and trash talking and all the crap they do, and the Cavs are going to win this game. You watch. They're going to come out and they're going to win the game. The Cavs will beat the Warriors tonight. I said that at 7:10. The game's just about ready to begin. You watch. Cavs win this game tonight. So now I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about, there was a big trade in baseball today. Maybe the best first baseman in baseball. It's debatable. There's some really good first basemen right now. But it was a big trade when the Arizona Diamondbacks sent six-time All-Star first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt, to the St. Louis Cardinals for Carson Kelly, Luke Weaver, and Andy Young, and they get the Cardinals compensation pick in round B of the 2019 draft. So that's a huge move. That's a big shift in the National League Central. But you know what I found interesting about this? This is what I found interesting. Arizona has a lot of money, okay? They have a lot of money, Arizona. Big market, good TV contract, really wealthy owner, and they traded away a really good player. Oh, my gosh. Indians fans, how about that? Somebody else traded away a perennial all-star. Another team, a team that has more money, that has a very wealthy owner, that's in a much larger market. They traded away their six-time all-star first baseman because he was going to be a free agent soon. And they didn't think they could re-sign him. So they traded him away. Oh my gosh, you mean other teams do that too? Not just the Indians? I wonder if the fans in Arizona are cursing their owners and calling them cheap tonight. I wonder. They let one of their top pitchers go yesterday in free agency, and then today they traded their six-time all-star first baseman. And one of those people in Arizona are turning on the team and saying they're cheap and calling their owners names and, saying, oh, he'd rather root for the Cardinals, who stink. I wonder if they're doing that in Arizona right now, in Phoenix. I wonder if they're turning on their team. I just wonder if they are. Because, that's what we do in Cleveland. We turn on the Indians. Because nobody in Cleveland, no fans in Cleveland understand the economics of baseball. They don't. If you really, truly took the time of understanding the economics of baseball, the moves the Indians made or are possibly going to make a heck of a lot more sense than this trade by Arizona today. It really does. But I guess in Cleveland, it's fun to rip the Indians and call the Dolans cheap. That's what you do. That's what Cleveland fans do. They rip the Dolans and they call the Dolans cheap. If you do that in Cleveland, you're cool. I'm seriously. That's what it is. And so I don't understand. I would like to know the reaction in Phoenix, and I'm going to do some research into that and find out how people in Phoenix are reacting to this Diamondbacks trade today, and see if they are holding the Diamondbacks front office accountable, like the fans in Cleveland always hold the Dolans accountable and rip the Dolans for everything they do. But that's it for sports tonight. We'll be back in 45 seconds, and we're going to talk about the news of the day and some politics. Hello, and welcome back to the Lake County Sentinel Podcast for November 5th, 2018. You can look us up online, Lake County Sentinel, at www.lakecountysentinel.com. Or you can follow us on Twitter at LCSentinelCom. Or you could follow us at Sports Sentinel on Twitter. Or you could even check our Facebook page out, Lake County Sentinel. So we're back, and we're going to talk about some news and some things that are going on in the world, and a little bit of politics. I think I want to try to keep it civil tonight, in honor of George H.W. Bush, 41st President of the United States, who the country held the state funeral for him today in Washington at the National Cathedral. And it was a very moving ceremony, talking about what a special man he was and how he cared about everyone he met. He really cared about people, and he never cared about getting attention for things. He just wanted to do the right thing. There are many things that were said during the service today, but one of them that really struck me was his lifelong friend, James Baker, who I believe served as his Secretary of State. James Baker said, when talking about George Bush and their friendship, he went off. It sounded like he went off course for a second, and he started to talk about ships. And he said, there are many great ships, wood ships, iron ships, steel ships, but the greatest ship of all is friendship. That just struck me. I mean, that was just really, wow. That's just amazing. Yeah, but it's true. It's true. And listening to these people praise him throughout the service was really, really moving. And then to see George W. Bush talk about his father at the end and break down a little at the end, it was a very moving moment, because, I mean, yeah, we're burying a president, but George W. Bush and his brothers and sisters are burying their dad. To us, he was the president. To them, it's their dad. And, they only lost their mom in April. So this is a lot of loss in 1 year, and it doesn't matter. They're not kids anymore. It's still their parents. And it's sad that, when you suffer loss like this, two losses in such a short period of time. But I think the comfort for them is knowing that their mom and dad are together again. And, their mom and dad are with their sister who died when she was buried. It was a really nice service and a very fitting tribute to a great man, George Herbert Walker Bush, our 41st president. And that's the way it should be. I think what it did was it took us back to the days in Washington where things could be civil. His friend Alan Simpson spoke about civility in Washington, told some great stories. And these guys they told great stories about him and things that just made you realize what a nice man he was, and how he had a great sense of humor, how he could joke about himself. And, it was really nice to hear these things. And it's just moving watching a funeral for a president, somebody who served the country so well. And, he served the country for more than being president, in the military, he was a pilot, and, CIA, as a congressman. He was just a really a really good man who just wanted to serve his country. And that's what he did his entire life. From the time he entered the military, at 18, as soon as he could, he served the country for pretty much the rest of his life. Even after he was president, he served people. So, there'll be a private service now in Houston tomorrow, and that's the that's where we are right now with that. And it's a day of mourning for our country, and hopefully, we just remember him in a positive way, because he's, by all accounts, was a great man. So we're going to move on, though. Now we're going to move on to, I see that it's been announced that Schindler's List, which came out in 1993, the story of Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who was a Nazi, part of the Nazi Party, and when the film begins, and he understands that, he realizes the horrible things that Hitler and the Nazis are doing. And as the movie moves on, it shows how he is attempting to employ people at his factory and make ammunition that would not work, but keeping people employed so they would not get taken to concentration camps. He would employ Jews, Schindler Jews. And it's a great movie. It's been 25 years since it came out. It's going to be re-released. It's still my favorite movie. It's not a joyful favorite movie, but it's a great movie. It truly makes you think about the horrible, horrible things that happened in Nazi Germany and in Europe when Adolf Hitler was in charge. It's amazing to think of the things that went on. And if you're an adult and you haven't seen this movie, you have to see this movie. It is an amazing movie. I think it's Steven Spielberg's best work. I mean, he's done great work on many movies. We all know that. E.T., many others. He's an amazing filmmaker. But to me, I think Schindler's List, that's his masterpiece. It cost $22 million to make. They filmed it in Poland, and it cost $22 million, and it made $321 million. I would venture to say it's going to be re-released. And when it's re-released, I would not be surprised if Schindler's List passes that $320 million mark in 2 weeks this time. Because I think this is a film that needed to be re-released at this time. It's a long movie, yeah. It's 195 minutes. It's almost twice as long as a regular film. But my God, you don't even realize it lasts that long. Because it's just amazing. I mean, it got, 7 Academy Awards. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Score. That was 4 of the awards it won. And it was nominated for 12. It was amazing. What a great film. If you haven't seen it, if you're an adult and you haven't seen it, and you were alive in 93, I don't understand why, and you were an adult then, I don't know how you couldn't have seen it. It's a great movie. It is the story of, I don't even know how to describe what the horrible things that went on. And the things you see in that movie, they'll change you. They're going to make you a different person. If you don't have compassion and you see this movie, I think when you leave the theater, you're going to have compassion. I mean, there's some scenes in this movie that I'm just like, oh my God. It's just a great movie. And to hear that it's going to be re-released, I think I want to bring my son to see it. He's 17. I think I want him to see it. I think I want to go with him. And it's a long movie. Yes, it is. 3 hours and 15 minutes. But I think it's a movie that every teenager should see. I really do. And they need to see this and understand what went on and how we can make sure that this never happens again. So I was very happy when I saw that Schindler's List was going to be re-released. It's an amazing film. It's just an amazing movie. Like I said, it ranks at the top for me for movies. If I had to, combine movie lists, comedies, dramas, action films, and I had to put them all in one list together, this movie's at the top. I mean, it's not even close, just because what it meant to people in the story it tells. So it's a great movie, and I'm really glad it's going to be re-released. And I'm trying to look here when it's going to be re-released. I'm looking here. I'm trying to see if I can find when it's going to be, re-released again. I can't find it. I think it's pretty soon. If it hasn't happened already, I don't think. Okay, here it is. The digitally remastered film will be re-released into theaters on December 7th, 2018 for its 25th anniversary. So December 7th, 2018, 2 days, Friday, it's going to be re-released in theaters around the world. So people who haven't seen it, a new generation, and people from that generation who haven't seen it can see it, or people who saw it can just see it again. What a great film. But I'm going to move on here real quick to end this. It looks like things might be getting a little more tense for Donald Trump with the Russia investigation. It sounds like Michael Flynn has really cooperated a lot with Robert Mueller in the investigation. Mueller has suggested no prison time for Michael Flynn because he's been very cooperative. That can't be a good thing for Donald Trump, because Flynn was involved in his campaign in those months when the collusion was supposedly going on. Roger Stone, a Trump loyalist, says he's going to take the Fifth Amendment, or take the Fifth. Well, that's not a surprise, because I would expect nothing less from that guy. So, but that's just a short update on the Russia investigation tonight. Tomorrow night we'll be back with you. Maybe we'll talk a little more about the Russia investigation. And the Cavs and Warriors are in the first quarter right now. The Warriors are up by 5 with about 2 minutes left. Hopefully the Cavs can turn it around. Let's just say that. Let's say go Cavs as we end the show tonight. Hopefully I'll be with all of you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.